Fox 45 News demanding accountability from city leaders after a 12-year-old is shot and killed. What we're learning about the victim that has many on social media shocked. Plus, Governor Wes Moore talks about the gun violence on the national stage, what he's saying and how it compares with his comments to Fox 45 News. And the fallout from the mayor's announcement to start enforcing the city's youth curfew continues, why one law enforcement expert says it's not a solution to the juvenile crime problem.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 10.
And we're following some breaking news, taking a live look at the intersection of Low and Colvin Streets in southeast Baltimore, where we're hearing reports of a shooting with multiple victims. Fox 45 News has reached out to police for more information on this incident, but we have yet to hear back. We'll keep you updated as we learn more about what happened at that scene. But you do see police crime tapes set up and police officers on the scene. Good evening, everybody. I'm Mary Bubala. Fox 45 News demanding accountability from city leaders after a 12-year-old boy was shot and killed in South Baltimore last night. That boy is the 9th child under the age of 18 murdered in Baltimore this year. He is one of 2 people killed in Baltimore this weekend. 3 other people were hurt in shootings. So far this April, Baltimore City has seen more than a murder a day. The deadly violence comes as Mayor Brandon Scott is set to deliver his State of the City address tomorrow. Now, we're covering every angle of the deadly violence tonight. Former federal prosecutor Thuroo Vignarajah is live in studio to weigh in. But we begin with Fox 45's Vincent Hill and the latest on the 12-year-old killed last night. Vincent?
To many crime. They had the crowd the weekend before, another crowd. Now you see this, all of this commentary and information on social media. It's a combination of things, and that 100% would have been a valid Terry stop.
That advice leads to how departments face class action lawsuits and how they get sued. Simply a large gathering of juveniles is an insufficient reason for the officers to violate everyone's constitutional rights by simply patting everybody down.
Well, the corrupt gun trace task force abused the stop and frisk policy. It is now one of the areas regulated in Baltimore's consent decree. And we want to hear from you. Do you think stop and frisk should be reinstated given the recent violence? So far, 94% of voters say yes. Head to foxbaltimore.com/vote to weigh in. And Baltimore City isn't the only place seeing teenagers fall victim to deadly gun violence. Police in Salisbury are searching for suspects after a 16-year-old boy was shot and killed there early this morning. A 22-year-old man was also hurt in that shooting. Governor Wes Moore appeared on ABC's This Week this morning, where he addressed the deadly violence throughout the state and last night's deadly shooting in Baltimore.
Just last night in Baltimore, we had a 12-year-old murdered with an assault rifle, a 12-year-old. And so when we talk about an all-of-the-above approach, it's why in our first 90 days, yes, we did things like invest a historic measure of $107 million into mental and behavioral health supports, that we put $122 million into local law enforcement to include $17.5 million into Baltimore City alone.
Now, the governor did not mention the crime bills that stalled in Annapolis during the 2023 legislative session. Supporters say those bills would have addressed illegal guns and repeat violent offenders, including the Violent Firearms Offender Act and another bill that would have made the theft of a firearm a felony. Fox 45 News has pressed the governor on those bills, and while he has said illegal guns are the problem, he hasn't directly addressed how he plans to get them off the streets.
Got to be able to focus on getting these guns off of our streets, these illegal guns off our streets.
Tackling illegal guns and repeat offenders, there are bills in the legislature to do that, but we haven't seen you come out and say, we need to get this done.
Yeah, well, no, well, you have seen us working with the legislature, and at the same time, I want to see bills make it to my desk that are going to focus on keeping our communities safe.
Well, let's bring in former city prosecutor Thuru Vignarajah. Thuru, thanks for coming in tonight.
Thanks for having me.
You tweeted about last night's shooting, saying if this doesn't inspire action, not just empty words of outrage, I don't know what will. What specific action do you think needs to be taken at this point?
Look, we know that there is a formula to drive down gun violence and repeat violent offenders and juvenile crime. We know it because we did it back a decade ago. We had gotten murders below 200. This wasn't an everyday occurrence. And yet we see our politicians resorting to talking points instead of doing the proactive enforcement, the multi-defendant gang prosecutions, going after those investigations that take a few months to build, but to actually get these gangs and these gun offenders off the streets. Tough talk is just that. And the criminals on the street know that that's not going to result in them being arrested or prosecuted or convicted.
We have a death of a 12-year-old last night. Do you think enforcing the curfew will work to curb juvenile crime and juveniles just being out in the streets?
You know, candidly, I fear that the curfew is just more tough talk. We are down 600 officers. We don't have enough officers to prosecute and police carjackings and murders. The notion that we have cops on the streets to round up 15 and 16-year-olds staying out past 10 p.m., I just think the mayor is giving the impression that the people of Baltimore are stupid. He's always claimed that the Western District is down. It leads the city in murders this year. We've had 18 murders in the last 15 days, and you hear the mayor tweeting about fire alarms.
Well, the mayor is going to give his State of the City address tomorrow. What do you hope to hear from him?
What I really hope he doesn't say is that things are going well. What I want him to say is that he recognizes that things are in an emergency, urgent crisis, and that he's got a concrete roadmap of actually what to do, not resorting to the talking points about guns being bad and violent offenders needing to get off the streets and the community needing to step up.
All right, we will see. Thuru Vignarajah, thanks for coming in tonight for your perspective.
Thanks for having me.
Well, Mayor Scott will be part of several State of the City Day events tomorrow, including a public safety roundtable before his address at 7:30 tomorrow night. Fox 45 News will have complete coverage of those events and the mayor's speech both on air and online.
Poof, the tire went. And next thing you know, some smoke's going on, and my coach is yelling, "Get off the bus!"
A rough weekend for a Boston-based college baseball team. After they lost their game, their bus caught fire in White Marsh. How the fire department was able to turn things around.
How could this have happened? I'm Christine Frizzell with a look at the latest fallout from that leak of U.S. intelligence online.
And planning for Monday, it looks like temperatures a lot cooler, highs only in the mid and upper 60s. I'll let you know when the next risk of rain is going to be moved our way. That's my Weather Authority forecast.
Well, some scary moments for a college baseball team from Boston. The team's coach says they were driving through White Marsh on their way home from a game in North Carolina when they heard a tire blow out and the bus began to fill with smoke. Now, take a look at this. This is what's left of the bus after it was completely engulfed in flames. The fire department put the fire out, then played host to the team until a new bus arrived to take them home.
So all you saw was a light up and flames in the back, and then, yeah, that's how it went. And then this fire department so kindly picked us up.
So we transported them back on the engine and several of our other apparatus here, got them lunch, got them settled, waiting for their bus. And so now they're hanging out as honorary members of our fire company.
These guys are great. I mean, I don't know if my guys are going to want to go home. They're having so much fun, and they're feeding us well.
And they let that one player dress up as a firefighter, which was pretty cool. No one was hurt, and the coach says they saved most of their baseball equipment. Only a few things were lost. A new bus came from Boston to pick the team up around 4:30 this afternoon. And take a look at this. Baltimore police say a car crashed into a house along Washington Boulevard near Pigtown. Officers say the driver had minor injuries. No one else was hurt. It's not clear if the driver is facing any charges or what led up to that crash. Well, some new fallout from the leak of classified information on social media. The man accused of the leak is due back in court on Wednesday. The same day, lawmakers are expected to be briefed on the matter. In the meantime, many are speaking out about a situation they say has put our country and our allies in danger. National correspondent Christine Frizzell reports.
An arrest has been made, but lawmakers warn the damage has already been done.
You know, what's troubling here is, when you look at the documents that were circulated, that without the care of its handling, these relate to actual real people. The marks on maps are real people, and they can impact people's lives.
The removing, retaining, and disseminating of classified information on social media platforms, allegedly by 21-year-old Jack Teixeira of the Massachusetts Air National Guard, is raising a long list of questions from lawmakers in Washington, since it may have been up and circulating for months.
Why were these documents lying around? Why did this particular person have access to them? Where was the custody of the documents, and who were they for?
There was a young kid, a 21-year-old, who had access to classified information, maybe the largest classified leak in recent history. And where was the leadership?
Some Republicans also firing back after Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene suggested Teixeira simply told the truth in his sharing of classified information online.
For any member of Congress to suggest it's okay to leak classified information because you agree with the cause is terribly irresponsible and puts America in serious danger.
That danger, according to Senator Graham and others, is that our allies, as well as other sources on the ground, may be less willing to share intelligence with the United States as a result. The Biden administration so far downplaying those concerns.
What I've heard so far, at least, is an appreciation for the steps that we're taking, and it's not affected our cooperation. I just haven't seen that.
Concerns about military secrets in Ukraine and charges of deficiencies in the U.S. military, now front and center in Washington. I'm Christine Frizzell reporting.
Well, Governor Wes Moore is weighing in on the ongoing debate over the abortion pill mifepristone. On ABC's This Week, the governor doubled down on an announcement he made on Friday, saying Maryland will stockpile the drug.
Maryland is going to be a state where we are going to protect reproductive health and reproductive rights. And not only have I instructed our Department of Health to be able to make this decision that we are going to be stockpiling the drug for upwards of 3 years.
And the governor also pointed to 3 bills state lawmakers passed during the legislative session to expand access to abortion and improve privacy. It's in response to a ruling from a district judge in Texas that would suspend FDA approval of the pill, which has been on the market for more than 20 years. On Friday, the U.S. Supreme Court put a temporary pause on that ruling, keeping the drug on the market for now. Now, senators on both sides of the aisle are questioning the ruling from Texas, asking how a lone district judge could issue a ruling that impacts the entire nation.
Yeah, I don't like a district court judge issuing a national decree, even if I agree with the judge. And what the judge held here is that the Federal Drug Administration didn't follow their own rules.
Is it going to be next? Is that judge going to not like birth control pills? Are we going to have a judge that doesn't like Lipitor? There is a reason that Congress gave FDA the power to make these decisions about safety.
The Supreme Court is now reviewing the Biden administration's request for an emergency stay on the Texas judge's decision.
All right, a nice warm Sunday, and now some unsettled weather moving in for our Sunday night. Made it to 80 degrees this afternoon. You notice some of those clouds and some showers to approach with some of those clouds from Altoona, Pennsylvania, down to Frostburg in western Maryland and west of Harrisonburg as you move down through portions of the Shenandoah Valley. This continues to move eastbound, but it's diminishing as it does so. The National Weather Service, National Storm Prediction Center, had us under a marginal risk of severe weather through the overnight, but I think most of this is kind of diminishing as it comes through. There could be a gusty shower or two overnight, but I think that's about it. Now, the big weather with this actually is over the upper Midwest. Take a look, a winter storm warning with the much cooler air, actually colder air coming in behind this, even up to about 2 feet of snow over portions of Michigan overnight into tomorrow. Thankfully, it won't be that chilly behind this around here, but it will be a lot cooler tomorrow once all that moves east. Toyota Asian Harbor Skycam right now. We've got mostly cloudy skies, 73, wind still out of a southerly direction ahead of a cold front at 7 miles an hour. Humidity at 59%, almost a touch of mugginess in the air. Almost kind of a muggy day today with temperatures right now in the 60s to right around 70. Did make it to 80 here in Baltimore this afternoon. It will be cooler tomorrow. 82 up at Westminster, 82 at Frederick and Gaithersburg, and 76 at Annapolis. Weather map showing us we're in what we call the warm sector. In other words, south of the warm front, east of the cold front. Accompanying that cold front are those showers and some of the gusty thunderstorms earlier today, and it turns a lot cooler behind this thing. I think for tomorrow, no, it's not going to be in the 30s and 40s, but we are going to evict those 70s to around 80 for probably taking the place here of 60s for tomorrow and the next several days before a warm-up ensues again. So overnight tonight into early tomorrow morning, there are some of those spot showers. I think they're gone by daybreak tomorrow, so about 6 to 8 a.m. Skies are clearing, and we spend the morning with some sunshine before maybe some patchy clouds in the afternoon. Lots of clouds, showers end tonight by probably daybreak. There could even be a rumble of thunder. 68 tomorrow, sunshine mixing with clouds, breezy, cool days actually for our Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Breezes die down back to the 80s on Thursday. Could see some spot showers, maybe a thunderstorm as we head toward next weekend.
Jonathan, thank you. 2 mass shooting investigations in 2 separate states this weekend. What we know about both incidents, including one that happened at a 16th birthday party. An emotional day in Minnesota after a sheriff's deputy was killed in the line of duty. What led up to the deadly shooting? An update to the breaking news in southeast Baltimore. Police say 3 people were shot, including a 15 and an 18-year-old. Both teenagers, though, are expected to be okay. Police say a 3rd victim, though, is in critical condition. Those teenagers are 2 of 4 young people shot in the city this weekend. Another 18-year-old was shot early this morning. And, of course, that 12-year-old was shot and killed last night. Baltimore not the only city to see gun violence this weekend. Police are investigating deadly mass shootings in 2 states. In Alabama, at least 4 people are dead following a 16th birthday party. More than a dozen teenagers hurt. Authorities have not yet released the ages of the 4 killed.
What we've dealt with is something that no community should have to endure. I just ask for your patience. It's going to be a long process.
From what I understand, had somebody in there that had a gun. Somehow walked in with a gun and just opened up fire.
Meanwhile, in Kentucky, at least 2 people were killed. Several others hurt when police say somebody opened fire into a large crowd at a park in Louisville. Now, it comes just days after 6 people were killed in a shooting at a Louisville bank. According to the Gun Violence Archive, the United States has seen 163 mass shootings in the first 15 weeks of 2023. And emotions are running high across Minnesota today after a deputy was shot and killed last night. According to the Polk County Sheriff's Office, 44-year-old Joshua Owens died after exchanging fire with a suspect. Owens and 2 other officers were responding to a domestic violence call at the time. Investigators say the suspect began shooting at the officers as they attempted to arrest him.
Yesterday, April 15th, Polk County law enforcement lost a brother. Our sympathies and love are with Deputy Josh Owens' family and the families of the other deputies and officers involved.
The suspect died in that shooting. 1 other officer was treated for injuries and released from the hospital. The 3rd was injured but not hospitalized. Well, Asian Americans are one of the fastest growing racial groups in the United States. A closer look at the trend in tonight's Full Measure report. 71% of Asian American adults in the U.S. today were born in foreign countries. Most came speaking little to no English and had few, if any, assets. Yet surveys show they're the highest income, best educated, and fastest growing racial group in the U.S. That status puts them at odds with the narrative that the deck is stacked against minorities in America. Full Measure Shell Atkinson reports.
One way to understand the racial conflicts involving Asian Americans is by visiting the controversy over a magnet high school known as TJ in Alexandria, Virginia. To be blunt, some felt the high school's merit-based admissions unfairly resulted in too many Asian Americans in Thomas Jefferson's student body and not enough blacks and Hispanics. So in 2020, Fairfax County Public Schools made a controversial change at TJ. They tossed out the entrance exam. They began evaluating students based on skills, character, and background such as economic disadvantage. And they installed a quota system, reserving an equal 1.5% of seats for students from each of Fairfax County's public schools, excluding many who would have gotten in by merit and replacing them with those less academically qualified. Though supporters argue the new system isn't race-based, critics insist it was specifically designed to favor other minorities at the expense of Asians. Nicole Spatani graduated in 2010.
Which racial background has been minimized the most under the new admission standards, and which one has benefited the most?
So something that folks who are opposed to the changes often point out is that the overall percentage of Asians has decreased under the new standards.
Do you know what it is approximately and what it was?
Yeah, it went from about 74%, over 70%, to about 54%.
I went to Thomas Jefferson High School for Science and Technology. I was the first class to graduate from there.
Hung Kao became a fellow at MIT and Harvard and spent 25 years in U.S. military special operations as a commissioned officer. And like many successful Asian Americans, he shatters the supposed privilege narrative.
I mean, we left Vietnam with nothing, just the shirts on our back and one suitcase.
Kao says some minority activists want to carve out Asians because Asians make it harder to argue America is systemically racist or lacking an opportunity for non-whites.
They won't call us minorities anymore. They start using other names like white adjacent. To call me something other than a minority, it's kind of insulting.
Even though she's Asian and got into Thomas Jefferson on academic merit, Spatani helped get that system tossed out as part of the TJ Alumni Action Group.
Not everyone had access to the same opportunities that I did. I think it's ludicrous to say that the previous system was fair.
A parents group recently unearthed a record of more than $1 million in donations to Thomas Jefferson High School in recent years from entities linked to Communist China. A school board response said it's not unusual for elite U.S. schools to get donations from various sources, including international sources. For Full Measure, I'm Cheryl Atkinson.
And you can watch Full Measure Sundays on Fox 45 at 10 a.m. Well, we are 11 days out from the NFL draft, despite the addition of OBJ. Why it makes sense for the Ravens to go receiver at 22 overall. That and more coming up next. Well, that's all news at 10. I'm Mary Bubala. Thank you so much for watching. Morgan Atzett and Rocco DeSangro join us now with Sports Unlimited. Morgan and Rocco.
Thank you, Mary. Coming up tonight on Sports Unlimited, the Orioles go for the series win in Chicago after a rain delay, while Grayson Rodriguez looks for his first win and rotation job security.
From the rookie starter's early struggles to the lineup success offensively, baseball insider Ryan Ripken joins the show to break it all down.
Less than 2 weeks out from the NFL draft, the Ravens have major needs if they stay put at 22nd overall. Corner versus receiver, the name linked to the Ravens for a top 30 visit over the weekend.
But they are set at wide receiver with the addition of OBJ. Or are they? With a three-time Pro Bowler brings to the Ravens and what it means for negotiations with Lamar Jackson.
To break down the Ravens draft needs and draft class to find those needs, Director of Player Personnel Joe Hortiz joins us one-on-one. All that and more when Sports Unlimited starts after this. Hey everyone, welcome to Sports Unlimited. He's Rocco DeSangro, Morgan Atzett. We got a busy Sunday night planned for you. All things O's, all things Ravens draft, and are the Ravens and Lamar Jackson over that trade request?
But first, Morgan, the Birds in wet and chilly Chicago. It's kind of gross out trying to get the series dub against the White Sox with Grayson Rodriguez on the bump for his third career MLB start. Orioles wrapping up their series with the White Sox. Grayson's early inning struggles, they just continued. Gilman product Gavin Sheets takes Rodriguez deep in the first to make it 3-0 Sox. Then Jake Berger follows with a solo shot of his own. Rodriguez would then settle in. We're going to get to that a little later, but the O's in a 4-0 hole, no problem at all. Cedric Mullins to left. Gunnar Henderson scores. Taron Vavra comes around. What a game Mullins had. He comes into third with a stand-up triple. O's would tie it up in the top of the sixth. In the eighth, Mullins. He's going to play delivery man again to give the Birds the lead, and just for good measure, Mullins would just drive in another. He was an RBI machine today. Big 4 RBI day as the O's beat the White Sox 8-4, the final score.
Yeah, I think the guy finished second to Cy Young. It's a 4-0 game. It's 30 degrees outside, it felt like. And we chipped away. And we did a great job of putting 8 zeros up after that first inning. And, you know, we took really good at-bats throughout the game and got him out of the game in the sixth.
Grayson Rodriguez, proof in his third start. He's dangerous and sits guys down. However, the struggle is real in the first inning. Maybe it's those rookie nerves or today's rain delay. But Rodriguez left 2 hangers he wants back, a 3-run shot to Gavin Sheets. Then 2 batters later, Jake Berger took him solo. He eventually would settle down. No runs after that first inning and 8 strikeouts through 5 innings.
You know, we just need a little bit more of that. Starting the game off, a little better pace is something we're going to work on this week before the next start. You know, we're going to prepare a little bit differently. You know, just ultimately eliminating that inning in the starts from here on out.
Let's rewind to yesterday's scary moment in the 7th inning of Saturday's game. Ramon Arias took a pitch off the helmet that knocked him to the ground. While he did walk off the field under his own power, he's currently in concussion protocol. Arias was not in the lineup today, and it's unclear if he'll be ready for Tuesday's game against the Nats. While they're no longer undefeated, the Tampa Bay Rays are still the best team in all of baseball. Christian Bethancourt with a big 3-run homer in the 5th. Shane McClanahan, he was dealing, improved to 4-0 on the year with a solid outing Sunday against the Jays as the Rays beat Toronto. 8-1 the final. So this is what the AL East currently looks like. Rays atop the standings at 14-2. Blue Jays, Yankees, and O's follow. The Birds are 9-7. Red Sox, the only team without a winning record.
And joining us again, like every Sunday, is Ryan Ripken, Baseball Insider. I got to get to the Orioles offense because it doesn't matter. Down 4 runs in the first, they get it done. Is there a better lineup right now connecting offensively in the MLB?
Well, good evening, Morgan. But honestly, was this a question that everyone was wondering? This offense during the offseason, did they add? I think the question's been answered. The Orioles offense is just on fire right now. Everyone in the lineup is contributing, and that's the beauty of it. I mean, Adam Frazier, everyone was worrying the big signing. He's been great. Ryan Mountcastle is showing why he was a Rookie of the Year candidate a couple of years ago. And obviously you're seeing Adley Rutschman, Jorge Mateo coming into his own, Austin Hayes. I mean, when the list goes on, and you know the scary thing is, Morgan, this team hasn't even found their rhythm yet. If you think about it, Gunnar Henderson hasn't got it going. Cedric Mullins finally did today, but Santander hasn't. This is a very exciting Orioles team that I think the best might be yet to come.
When I start watching now, and it's fun to do this because it's what's expected, but they're talking postseason. That's their goal internally. It's believable. But I start watching guys like Jorge Mateo, Austin Hayes, and I think about the young prospects who are going to be ready come summer. Is it too early to kind of dangle those guys as trade bait right now? You know, it's interesting. We were just talking about it. I mean, we're only 2 weeks in, so I'm going to say it's a little too early. But having said that, it is a discussion down the road because Austin Hayes, a veteran player, Jorge Mateo, some team around the league, if they are in the win-now mode, World Series contenders, what they're hoping to be, absolutely. It's going to be a conversation that the Orioles are going to have to consider. And with a lot of the young players, something's going to have to give eventually. If the players are playing well, it's only going to add and build up to this trade talk as we move forward. Grayson Rodriguez got his 3rd start today. A little rough in the first, but then he settled down. 8 strikeouts, those 4 runs, all in the first. I don't think the Orioles did him any favors with what they said, with not having him on the roster and up so quickly. How do you think he has handled this whole thing of waiting and finding